Again, I've got so many beautiful Bitcoin charts. I didn't have a chance to show you them all in my last update. I did show you this chart in the previous update before that. Again, a beautiful bounce off of the VWAP support here from the breakout. Look at that. We had the breakout of the trend line, the back test of it, and again, the VWAP support we're bouncing off of is right there. You know, the S&P is doing the exact same thing, both bouncing off horizontal support. I've talked about the tiers of support here. Beautiful, beautiful bounce off of this horizontal support area here in right around 91, 92,000 or so. And again, you've got the possible head and shoulders. If we do, we can go back down to some of these other levels. But like I said, I think that this is a wave 4. And I think we're now going and getting wave 5. We may get a higher low, a pullback, and again, get this push on up into key resistance levels that I've been talking about with the log scaling. But it doesn't get much better than this, folks. Look at this. I mean, that's just beautiful. I talked about these support levels. This VWAP support, the volume weighted average price from this low right here, and then our window of support right here, horizontal support with the blue. Beautiful, beautiful bounce there. I said, go watch my last video. I'll link it at the end of this video. I went through some really, really beautiful charts. And again, I talked about how my momentum signals were turning back to bullish in the daily time frame, suggesting we were going to bounce off this level of support. Yes, a head and shoulders could be setting up for a bigger pullback, but my guess is that this is a wave 4 and that we're now getting the wave 5. I think you've got, you know, a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3, and I think this is wave 4. And now I think we're going to get the final push higher for wave 5. Again, as I mentioned, we're back above that 20-period moving average. If the 10 can get back above the 20, the red line back above the 20, the blue line, and they both get back above the 50, we can go higher. We might get a pullback. Again, if this is the 5th of the 5th, we can get kind of pullback. We've had this winning streak. We had a couple of dojis, candles of indecision, but we've had this winning streak since our inverted hammer there on the last trading day of 2024. So again, at some point we'll likely see a pullback, but then resume the advance probably to new all-time highs. In my opinion, I remain bullish on Bitcoin. My weekly signals remain bullish. Bitcoin's going to go higher. Again, with the charts I showed you previously, but not in my last video. I had some really charts in my last video. Wanted to show you some other great charts here. Again, we had that bullish rally on January 2nd, really confirming the inverted hammer, and then we got the follow through on January 3rd and continue to move higher. Well, January 2nd, that has turned Bitcoin from a risk-off environment to a risk-on environment, and we saw the Bitcoin trend with that move turn back to bullish there with the January 1st rally, the day after the inverted hammer. So some bullish things, the Bitcoin trend, bullish, risk-on environment. I think Bitcoin's going to go make new highs. I think the correction is done. Seeing the risk line turn back to bullish, so all kinds of positive things happening for Bitcoin. Now that we flipped the signal, I'll mark the sell signal here. I like to do it after marking it because, let me just adjust that because so I can see it better. Show you this chart. So again, beautiful signals here with the Bitcoin risk model. Now, as we start the new week off here with Bitcoin, we completed the Sunday session that completed last week's trading. We're starting the new week now here at the Monday session, and we're seeing more signals turn back to bullish. Here, we're attempting to get above the cloud. I told you to be watching for this here, the daily time frame. And again, we have momentum already turned back to bullish. Back on the on the close of January 2nd, I told you that momentum had flipped back to bullish, and we got these bullish signals on in here on the 1st and the 2nd. We got the inverted hammer there on the last day of trading for December, and that is being confirmed, and we're getting the follow through. So again, as I told you, these signals could be marking a bottom for Bitcoin to resume the advance. We've dropped nearly 16%, and now we're attempting to get more bullish signals as we attempt to flip back to bullish with the trend signals. This line right here represents a short-term trend, and it kind of went flatlined and went red, and now it's trying to turn back to purple. So again, that's good. We're getting above the cloud, and we're getting above the ribbon here. The ribbon's got to turn back to bullish, and then the background has to turn back to green. I think you're going to see that happen, but we are seeing more bullish signals here for Bitcoin. Then we got to get momentum back into positive territory. Now, again, we could get a pullback and get a higher low at some point, or a divergence, as I said, if we end up taking out key support. But again, I still think there's a very good chance Bitcoin has now completed an ABC move, and we're now getting this final push into resistance. So we'll be watching that, but you got to get in positive territory with momentum if we're going to go higher. But a huge plus for the bulls, we're getting more bullish signals and trying to flip trend signals back to bullish in the daily time frame. Remember, weekly signals already remain bullish. And again, with the Monday session, we're even getting more bullish signals. Again, not only is the cloud trying to flip with that bullish signal, but it's being validated, or at least attempting to. It won't be officially validated until the end of the session, but it will likely be validated by the end of the session with the balance of power turning back to positive. I told you to be watching for that, watching for the bullish breakout above the cloud. The bullish signals were warning, and the shift in momentum with the bullish momentum line back there on the close of January 2nd. Talked about right after that close. We just started the January 3rd bar. Again, these signals were warning, hey, you got a possible bottom here at key horizontal support. And again, we're bouncing off that key support level, as I've talked about great length and detail. And now you're seeing the bullish signals. So now we're seeing momentum signals, and they're not all there. Again, several have turned. Now right here, this line represents a swing move, and it's really just showing that we've been going sideways as it has remained neutral. To see that turn up, validating the next swing move and some of the other signals as I've talked about. But the balance of power validating the breakout, the push above the cloud. We still may get a pullback, but again, my signals, which are correct, back to bullish in the daily time frame with the trend. They've already been bullish. It's the start of the year now here on January 2nd, January 1st with those bullish signals. So again, I continue to believe Bitcoin is going to go higher. And again, like I keep saying, my weekly signals remain bullish. So I continue to believe Bitcoin is going to go higher. I think it will complete a blow off top at higher levels. Live it, love it, learn it. Again, I warned you about this trend line in 2017 from the peak here to the 2021 tops, that again, we were likely going to reach it. It could be a place where we get a pullback. That's exactly what has happened. And again, I warned you before we reached it. We were about to. I warned you when we did reach it, the day we reached it. Again, not a red alert video, we could get a reaction off of this level, and that has what has happened. Now, again, we may overthrow this level. We may just come up to it and move slightly higher. That is the case. It would still keep us under 115,000, under 115,000. The case. If we overthrow it, then that upper channel line in the weekly time frame with our log scaling comes into play. But these are the trend lines that I told you we were moving towards them. We did the Bitcoin breakout, but now I think we're going to one more push higher and finish final climax high to complete the blow off top. It happens, people are not going to believe it's a Bitcoin top when it happens. Won't sell, Bitcoin will collapse, and then they'll wait for it to come back up, and it will get a lower high when it comes back up if it returns off this major level of resistance that I'm talking about. That's this channel right here that I believe is likely going to be reached. Again, we had the breakout. We got back above the 20-week moving average over here, and then we pulled back, and then we got back above it and bounced off of our 10-week moving average. And then now we just bounced off of it again, that 10-week, the red line right there. And again, I think that's going to take us to this upper boundary. Now, again, I think you could reach it in January. I think there's a very good chance you get a powerful move that you reach this in January here in the first quarter. And I think that could create the final climax peak for Bitcoin of this channel. When we reach the peak, it'll be total complacency. We're likely going to see a massive rug pull that will start a reversal process. Why? Because recession is coming. Never seen how Bitcoin behaves in a legitimate recession. A brief recession in 2020 that wasn't associated with the bear market, with the stock market, only a crash move surrounding the pandemic. It was followed up by massive stimulus. Stock market moves into a bear market, which is highly probable. As recession signals are already flashing, Bitcoin will have the first legitimate recession, and the bear market will likely be extremely ugly. And again, the bear markets have been 93%, 86%, 84%, 78.5% over here. Likely going to get another 80% plus decline on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin hits that upper channel line, as I think that it will likely complete a major top for Bitcoin. That's not going to be the narrative when we go to new highs. It's going to be, okay, and I think it's going to be around 125,000, possibly near 122,000, 123,000 by late January. It's not going to be believed. That could possibly be a peak, but it very well could be. It's followed by reversal with the weekly signals turning bearish and completing the divergences that I've been talking about in the weekly time frame, like with the RSI. I think we're going up to where these two trend lines are intersecting into late January. If we reach this level by the third or fourth week of January, if the full week's there, I think that last 2 weeks of January. Third week is the inauguration week of President Trump on the 20th. After that is that final week in January. If we can reach this level surrounding that, and again, inauguration could be a sell the news event if we do reach this level up in here. And again, 120,000 up to 125,000. We may even overthrow this upper channel line just a little bit. We did over here. You're going to likely reach 120 to 125,000, reach this level, and then I think you're going to begin a large decline. Now, what is this trend line that we're intersecting with right here that I'm talking about? Major resistance. This is where I think the Bitcoin top is right here. Now, why do I think that Bitcoin is going to go higher? Zoom out the trend lines. I showed you up close. They intersect right there. Now, what is this upper boundary right here? It is a perfectly parallel boundary to the low over here in 2018 that finished a bear market there, and the higher low that formed with the pandemic sell-off in 2020. Very similar channel we have with the NASDAQ the NASDAQ composite actually, and the NASDAQ 100. I've talked about these peaks over here in the trend line. Now, the upper boundary of this channel, I connect the high here, but then we overthrew it with the shadow, and I connect that peak with this peak right here. A little hard to see there, but right there was the high just under 69,000. And if you connect that line, it's perfectly parallel with these lower boundaries. That's where I think Bitcoin's going to stall out at right there. To reach it immediately, it would just be under 20,000. 20,000, I should say. If we go into the third or fourth week into January, then again, it could be somewhere between around 120,000 to 125,000. But this is my target level for Bitcoin. And then I think it's going to peak out. I think you're going to complete the channel here. I think you're going to complete the larger channel here. And then I think you're going to get a new falling price channel that will eventually take Bitcoin down to here, depending on how fast we reach it, down to this trend line right here, and that would take out the 15,000 area. That means that we get a recession and Bitcoin begins to price in that recession. Microstrategy, Bitcoin starts falling, could give Bitcoin problems, MicroStrategy problems, but again, they could feed off of one another in a selling frenzy. So again, just some things to be watching. But I think, again, the conventional wisdom is, oh, Bitcoin, and when we get up to these levels, it's going to be, oh, Bitcoin is going to be, going to 200,000, 300,000, 500,000, and all the rest of it, when it's probably going to stall right there. Again, my signals remain bullish. I think that could terminate the rally if we can clear the red trend line right there, as I've talked about from the 2021 low. I think we're going to. Stalled there and we pull back, and I think that's given us a wave 4. And like I said, I think you have this 5-leg structure going into that level. And then I think you're going to complete top. And again, we could be starting right now the fifth wave of the larger fifth wave here in a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and this whole thing is wave 5, and you're getting that final push. I think that is likely the case. Now, this fits in very nicely with my Elliot wave counts. A couple, but I'm leaning towards one right now. Do you have an alternative? If you like the charts, please support the channel with the link directly below. I don't have any sponsors. I turned all those offers down because I just want a direct relationship with you. I don't want to tell you a bunch of stuff and these exchanges that want to get you all leveraged up to get you wiped out, sell you things at triple commissions and so forth. I mean, there's just a lot of shady deals. I don't want to do that. So I just ask that you partner with me and support the channel, but I do need to hear from you in order to make it work. If you like my charts, you like my indicators, please consider helping out. Anything helps. Take a moment to do that. I would really, really appreciate it. Follow the link below to take you to a secured site, and you could donate any amount you want or make it a recurring donation. If you do that, I thank you. Consider partnering with me today. Thank you for your consideration for that. Now, if we look at this with one of my potential Elliott wave counts, if this is a 5-leg structure higher, 1 ABC for 2, 3 ABC for 4, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we get the 5 pushing into this upper channel line. Very similar to the channels, the longer term channels on the S&P, the NASDAQ 100, even the longer term channel for NVIDIA. About all of this in my stock videos. This could be final climax rally to the blow off top of this move. So I think it's highly likely we reach the upper boundary of this channel and that we reach the upper boundary of this channel, and I think that will complete a 5-leg structure right into there, possibly complete a 5th and final wave of this structure right here, and the 5th wave of this larger structure of 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 of that structure, and then get an ABC corrective move. Now I do have another alternative, which I'm not going to show you today, but it could be if we've completed a 3, a 4, or a 3, a 4, and a 5 right here, and a massive expanded flat, an ABC move, where we have A, we have B, rather than a 5-leg structure, it would be a complex WXY pattern, possibly WXYZ, depending on interpretation, would be followed by a 5-leg structure down rather than a 3-leg structure down, which would be A, B, and then getting the final C move, a larger corrective move from this 5-leg push higher. So again, that's the alternative, but I think both of them would terminate here at this upper channel line right here. Elliott wave is speculation, but had this count for a little while and it seems to be playing out with the breakout. Normally don't talk about Elliott wave very much because it's speculation. I wanted to make you aware of, as we're moving towards this trend line and this trend line, they intersect in this area around 120 to 125,000, or just slightly under it if we reach it sooner rather than later. If we get a powerful rally in early January, could terminate the bull market. That could be the end of it if this channel starts completing, and this smaller channel within this larger channel, if that completes as well, which I think is highly probable, going to reach that upper boundary and the upper boundary here, then you're going to have a double dose of resistance. Move into recession, it's possible that we move back towards this trend line eventually. I said I'm bullish right now. My signals remain bullish, but I think that we could terminate the bull market, complete the final climax move of the final phase of the climax move to finish the blow off top right in this area. Just food for thought. Right on, right on, right on. The Bitcoin rally I've been warning about is taking place. And at the moment, I'm making the video well over halfway through the trading session for Monday, up 3.37%. Again, I believe Bitcoin's going to make new all-time highs. Possible head and shoulders here if we end up getting a bigger pullback. I told you I don't think that that's going to be the case. I think we're going to go up and make a new high. I think this is a wave 4, and I think that that's now done, and I think we're go higher. If we do pull back, I think we'll likely see a higher low But again, I continue to believe that Bitcoin is going to go above this high to the next level of resistance. And I've talked about that with the weekly chart, with our linear scaling and our log scaling. And I'll show you some more different charts. This video, I did a video on Sunday, showed you some amazing charts. If you didn't watch that video, you need to go watch that video. I showed you some absolutely incredible charts. I love my Bitcoin charts. I hope you love my Bitcoin charts as much as I love my Bitcoin charts. And I love my Bitcoin charts almost as much as I love Bitcoin. Again, we continue to be bullish on Bitcoin, believing it's going to go make another new all-time high. These signals continue to be bullish, flip momentum, and now we're flipping, right now, trend signals in the daily time frame. So now you have both the momentum and the trend signals turning back to bullish in the daily time frame. We already had momentum. Now we're getting trend signals. We've had our weekly signals remaining bullish. So again, we continue to believe that Bitcoin is going to complete a blow off top at higher levels near the upper channel line in the weekly time frame that I've been talking about. I warned you that Microstrategy is continuing to accumulate Bitcoin, and again, that is fueling this rally here today with Bitcoin. I warned you about in my last update, and last week we've talked about Microstrategy. Again, I believe Microstrategy is in a blow-off top. I don't think it's done yet. I think it's going to get another new all-time high, but then I do believe the diversions will complete. I talked about that in great length and detail in my last update. Let's take a look real fast at the news behind the rally, and that is Microstrategy, again, announcing another big purchase of Bitcoin. Microstrategy added 1,070 Bitcoin worth 101 million to its portfolio, bringing its total holdings 447,470 Bitcoin. Now, this purchase, and we've seen several lately. This latest move marks the 9th consecutive week of Bitcoin purchases by Microstrategy, and the 1,070 BTC they just bought. They bought at an average price of $94,000, with that total of 447,470 Bitcoin. Their average cost is 62,503 per Bitcoin. I think eventually MicroStrategy is going to be a problem for Bitcoin. It reaches its final climax high, which I think will be sooner than everybody thinks. My signals remain bullish, but I think that we're moving into the next level of resistance. Should we make a new all-time high, I think we will. Bitcoin could top at the resistance levels. Just quickly, here is the MicroStrategy purchases in green, the price of Bitcoin, and then this little dotted line right here is the average price. The average price they paid, dollar cost averaging, and again, that's at 62,500 right now. I think that if Bitcoin peaks and we start losing that level, MicroStrategy will eventually run into some real problems. MicroStrategy is clearly in a bubble, and they're making these aggressive purchases after a significant advance. Bitcoin is forming a blow-off top. It's under construction, which they were not as aggressive down at the lows for Bitcoin, but have been very aggressive near highs. And right now, just going to town, getting extremely aggressive. Bitcoin ends up topping and turning. MicroStrategy, which I believe it's going to go higher, tops out and it begins to turn. I think that could really be a problem for Bitcoin next bear market, which again, we're about to have a recession, and at some point Bitcoin's going to peak, begin to price in that recession. I believe the recession indicators. MicroStrategy, which is now on the NASDAQ 100, starts crashing. It's not only going to hurt Bitcoin, vice versa. Bitcoin dropping can hurt MicroStrategy. I mean, again, like I've said, they can play off one another in a decline, but MicroStrategy is also on the NASDAQ 100, which could hurt it. So if you get NVIDIA topping out, MicroStrategy is going to form this divergence very similar to what I'm looking for on Bitcoin with the RSI. And again, I think that we're going to go up and hit this trend line. And once we do, that's why I don't think that's the peak. we don't have a divergence here, I think it's likely we're going to get one. We don't have to form one. We didn't form one over here, as I've talked about my previous update, but I think we're going to see that happen, and I think we're going to see Microstrategy get another push higher. I think Bitcoin move towards resistance levels, and then I think we're going to see it top out, and I think you're going to see Microstrategy start to crash. And again, if Microstrategy starts to crash, Bitcoin tops and begins to turn down below their average price, wherever that may be at the time, keep doing purchases at 62,500, then they could start getting into trouble. Had that big rally on Friday. It continues today. We are up another 7.30% at the moment. I think we're going to end up forming this larger divergence on the daily chart as well. Again, the channel. But then once we reach this area, which is significantly higher here, I think Bitcoin will top out. I think MicroStrategy will top out. And I think that could happen here in January, in the first quarter. We could see MicroStrategy and Bitcoin begin to go higher, but then complete a top. I think MicroStrategy is suggesting that Bitcoin is going to now get the final climax rally, to complete the blow off top. That's what I think is going on. Here in the month of January, I'll be watching for a potential divergence here, but we could see MicroStrategy get a massive, massive increase if it does attempt to reach this upper channel line. I wanted to make the video today to show you that we're getting more bullish signals. Again, we're flipping the cloud here back to bullish. So if momentum and trend signals can remain bullish, or even if momentum turns down, but trend signals can remain bullish, then again, we can go to new highs. And remember, again, the weekly signals remain bullish. I keep saying Bitcoin is likely going to go higher and get the final climax rally for the blow off top, Now, I warned you with the Sunday bar, we were trying to, in my last update yesterday, I was warning you, we were trying to go positive here, quite make it, but with this Monday bar, we are doing it now, and we're in positive territory. So again, we're back in the positive portion of the cloud. We may pull back just back into the negative region of the cloud, but I think horizontal support is likely going to hold. But the signals are turning back to bullish here. And again, that's opening the door to resume the Bitcoin advance. Time we turn positive back over here after we got the higher low at 52,000, we got back into positive territory, briefly turned back into the negative region. But again, we were consistently in the positive region here once we moved into the positive territory with the oscillator, and Bitcoin was able to consistently hold in the positive portion of the cloud, the bullish portion there, and we got this. So again, and it wasn't until we lost this area and went negative that we got the larger corrective move. I think it's completing now. Very positive things are happening for Bitcoin. So again, I still believe Bitcoin's going to get that final climax rally. And in my last update, I told you price oscillator was turning back to bullish. I told you during the sell-off with the inverted hammer that happened, we got the rally going on here. I told you to be watching for that, that it firms up and moves back into the positive territory. We have the same thing with the MACD. We may see a larger divergence develop on over here, something like this, or a brand new divergence may develop if we move above this extreme. I think that we're going to get the final push higher. Bitcoin is going to peak in the first quarter here, and I think you got a shot that that happens in January. We can get